Good evening. Greetings and salutations. How the hell are you? I hope everything's going your way. I wanted to take a minute to say something about love. We hear the terminology unconditional love a lot in a religious instance or a spiritual. Seems to be these days all anyone talk about in spirituality is love. Well, today I want to stand on business. And I want to clarify something very serious. I want to tell you simply what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is not just words. Really, it shouldn't even be called unconditional love. It should just be called love. But in the world we live in, many people are emotionally wounded. They think because they don't feel pain, they're no longer wounded. But that isn't fully the case, because just because you get used to the pain, maybe you become numb, maybe you don't feel it anymore. If you are doing something out of fear or anything like that, it is an unconscious aspect of yourself compelling you to do that. So in this day and age, people hurt each other a whole lot. But you know what? I say this day and age, but I bet it's been like that for a long, long time. I want to make an example, if I can. Let me see if I can get him in the shot. You see all these mosquitoes on my leg? You see all those mosquitoes? Now, I don't get mad that they're over here jumping on me, even though they're annoying. I don't resent them because they're technically hurting me. They're biting me. I don't refrain from going outside because they may be out there. I'd miss out on a whole lot if I did that. But when people hurt us, it seems to be we take it really personally, don't we? Don't we get really frustrated with them? Don't we we become resentful? And we go around and we do this thing. We go, I love them, but I will not be around them anymore. I won't interact with them anymore because at one time they messed up and hurt my feelings. I banish them to hell. They can get the hell on out of here for all I care, but I love them. Pathetic. No, you don't. Quit playing. Quit saying things that aren't true. Because if you love somebody, you want to be around them, don't you? You want to be in their life, and you want them in your life. To love like that is not unconditional. That's really just attachment. It's really just attachment that has shape-shifted and masqueraded itself as love. And it's not. And the reason you can't be around somebody, the reason 9 times out of 10, guys, people do not do something heinous to us. They hurt our feelings. Well, most of the time these days, our feelings are misguided. They're ego controlled and dominated because we went through this kind of materialistic world and we live egoically. We don't live from the spirit. We don't walk in the spirit until we do, of course. But we live in the ego and we walk in the ego. And the ego is anything but the spirit. The ego is not divine. It doesn't matter. I've heard people who harbor, and you can tell it. I can tell it because I'm good at catching these things. They harbor things like resentment while they talk about spirituality, and they can seem cheerful, and they can even, they can seem cheerful and joyful and all of that, but it flares up faster than they can catch it. That's in their ego. And they defend the ego. And it's not them, of course. The ego has this thing of convincing us to do all kinds of horse shit. The ego has us doing this number. But the ego is necessary. The ego is not necessary because in the absence of the ego, you only have presence. You're only there in the moment. You're living in the kingdom of heaven. And that's nothing but joy and bliss. Who would want to let the ego come in for any amount of time whatsoever and disturb that flow, right? But that ego, it's pesky. It starts whispering at us and showing us things that knows it'll get turned on and get to run around with us. It gets us saying, we'll come to this thing where we go, we're ready to forgive so-and-so. It's been a little while. I've calmed down. I've let go of it. I miss them. I care about them. I want to get back in their life. I want them to get back in my life. I want us to share the gift of life together, rather in friendships or otherwise. And what our ego does when we're perfectly content and fine and ready to let go and move forward or move on or whatever, it pops up and goes, remember when they did that? And all of a sudden we're going down a spiral, aren't we? We're walking straight into the ego's hands. And we're no longer, we start to go, you know what, you're right. It's been 20 years, but they did that thing one time. I could never forgive them. I love them, but. Kind of like the mosquitoes I talked about. They're a swarm in my legs. But you know what? I don't hold it personally. I just accept they do that. And if I really love them and I'm being honest, I'll sit there and get used to them biting me. Just, okay, what is? But if I'm honest, I can also say, I don't like them very much, but I won't disguise it and lie and make myself a hypocrite at any point by saying I love but, or I forgive but. There's no stipulation on love, guys. Lucky for us, people aren't really mosquitoes. We'd have a real problem, wouldn't we? Unconditional love is exactly what it says. Another way to say it is I love you no matter what you do. And you got to really feel it and mean it for it to be true. And it shouldn't even have a word that says unconditional in front of love, because that's just what love is. You can bullcrap everyone, including yourself. You cannot bullcrap universal forces. You cannot bullcrap God. You cannot bullcrap the divine. You see, real love, just as it should be mentioned, love, it has no condition. There is no fear in it. You see those people who have pet tigers or panthers or cougars or some very dangerous predator. Oh, they love that animal even when it kills them. Animal might have mauled them 3 or 4 times. They don't care. It's just like that, to be perfectly honest with you. And somebody goes, well, that's damn right foolish. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you what it is. I don't make up how it should be, how it is. You love in a real way, or you don't. It's that simple. You see, when we go, I love so and so, but they did this thing, and so now I got to keep them away from me for my own safety and this and that. There's fear in that, and there's also attachment in that, because you don't actually love that person. You're just attached to them. You're just attached to them. You're attached to the experiences with them. You're attached to the feelings, whatever. You're attached to them. Love is completely different than attachment. Love is completely different than attachment. Love does not come with things like grief. Love does not come with things like regret. Love does not have resentment in it. Love damn sure don't have hate in it, irritation in it, frustration in it. Love is perfect because love is godly. And to love is to be divine. But you got to understand and practice it, real love. You can't just say, I love, and giggle and smile. Giggling and smiling still ain't love. Love can produce those feelings in you, but that is not it. That is not it. Let me tell you something. Everybody's shit stinks. If you think your shit don't stink, you the smelliest motherfucker in this conversation. Speaking of which, that's some this damn cow shit out here. These mosquitoes are swarming my legs. Maybe I should sit here and let them eat of my drink of my blood and eat of my flesh. It's important to be honest. Don't do what you hate, okay? If you don't like someone, if you don't want them in your life, don't say you love them, just let them go. How can you love someone who is not present actively in your life? You can't. You know what you're loving? You're loving a mental image. You're loving what you think, but not what is. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. If you love somebody, then you love all of that person. And that means their flaws. You don't get to pick and choose, because all of that ultimately makes that person. Or their ego, in which case then comes more questions, right? So do you know, everybody loves each other beyond the ego. But you got to remember, people are carrying egos around, aren't they? They're walking around as the ego, really believing they're the ego of themselves. They're what they think they are. They're what their beliefs are. They believe that those things define them. We strip all that away. We don't even have a body. We're just a spirit again. You walk around going, I love unconditionally, but you can't be around certain people. I don't, and then you say you love them too. I don't guess you love them very much. It's a fact. It's a fact. People say, well, what if so-and-so's dangerous? What if so-and-so does this and that and that and this? Well, Jesus come down here and he let people do all manner of things to him, and he didn't have he still loved everybody up there, didn't he? So that's divine love. That is what it is. That is real love. That is perfect love. That is, as we say, unconditional love. And in spirituality, it's a lot like you're stepping into the spirit. You become more of the Spirit. You let more of the Spirit become you. Well, God is the Spirit. And it's your core essence. You're God, because you're the breath of life. And so the ego gets in all of our ways. So when we say we love someone, but we can't be around them, we can't tolerate their ways, it's not their ways, it's their ego. Hell, egos are obnoxious. It's kind of like the mosquitoes. You just say, well, egos are pretty retarded, but that's not going to stop me from being around that person. Did you know that if you let light in your heart, if you let more God in your heart, you'll have light pour out of your heart. You won't have to say something. You won't have to reason with anybody. The more light pours out of you, the more it affects everything and everyone around you. So it's like when you look at a person, say, I love what's under that ego. But your ego fell in love or started loving their ego, didn't it? Question remains, if you burned away your ego, you probably lose feelings for that person or what you thought that person was, because you only really cared about their ego. And the more your ego that vanishes and the more of your authentic essence and self shines through and walks this earth, the easier things like forgiveness will come. Because the ego is what gets in the way of all the good things in life. All the goodness in life gets trampled on and ruined by the ego. The more your ego you burn away, the more you start to realize through that process, a whole hell of a lot of people are living by their ego. And then once you get past that, you might start thinking what I think and seeing what I see. Well, when we care about people, do we care about their essence? To love who they really are is to love God. So, just as it said, God is infinite, so are you. Just as it says, God is unknowable in many ways, so are you. Except by you. Because even God knows God. And so, as we cast off more of this ego, more of this character, the more we do that, the more we begin to realize that people are really unaware. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And these mosquitoes are eating me up. Kind of like that. I don't sit here and get resentful of the mosquitoes. I don't sit there and say, I love mosquitoes, but just get over it. Except mosquitoes are mosquitoes. And I'm sure that if I knew anything, if I cared enough to learn about mosquitoes, I'd find something I loved about mosquitoes. But people aren't mosquitoes. As you burn off more of your ego, the less their ego is going to affect you. And the more you're going to realize that you do want to be around them. You do want them in your life. It's just their ego gets on your nerves. And that gets less and less as you get rid of your ego. They may still have an ego, but it won't faze you because you know better. That's the power of consciousness, awareness, knowing. And you'll even start to know when you're talking with their higher self and their lower self, their ego, and with anything in between. something that helps us all. We can't heal if we're still holding on to our expectations of people. We can't move on if we were really in this good friendship with somebody, for instance, an example, and one day we got into it. They let us down. Maybe they hurt us in some way. Maybe we hurt them in some way, but I'm making it simple. Maybe they hurt us in some way, and we just stormed on out. And we said, oh, no, I love them, but I'll never be around them again. What if we went through that? I lost it. Someone that we knew, maybe a friend, we loved them a lot, and then one day they hurt us, and then we walked away from them, and then we said, I love them, but I forgive them, but I will not be around them anymore for my own well-being and this and that. First of all, that's your ego's well-being. That's never you, and that can never be you, and that can never be any of you. Second of all, at that point, Jesus will put it this way: if they don't receive you well, if it don't work out where you go, who you around, dust the dirt off your sandals as fast as you can at the gates. That means go away. That doesn't mean still be attached to them, because you can't heal if you're still holding on. You got to let go. So when we have that dear friend or whoever else it may be, and whatever may have happened that wounded us and hurt us, then when we go, then if we never want to see them again, that's fine. But we don't kid ourselves and fool an attachment with something as great as love. Attachments are right up there with lust. Lust make you do a whole lot of stupid things, won't it? But you genuinely can work it out with the person. You say, I'll never let them near me again. The feelings I feel, whatever. We meet people, first of all, for a reason. We're all here trying to learn something. We've been given something at the beginning of this thing called life. And when we go back and stand before the source, when we stand in the source, when we are in perfect union, and we could form union here on earth, but I'm talking about the everlasting union, the perfect one, where perfect love is, at the source and in the source. When we go back there, we're going to ask to be given, it's going to be like we're asked to explain our times here. What did you do with what I gave you? They're going to play a blooper reel when it's my time to stand there in the spotlight. And they're going to say, well, those are nice bloopers. Those are real funny, real entertaining. But where's the actual film? And Jesus is going to say, that is the film, Lord. But I digress. When we stand in the source and we say, this is what I did with what you gave me. This is what I learned with the time I was allotted. It ain't going to work to say that I thought love was attachment. If you have a fallout with somebody and you absolutely can't patch it up right then, maybe later you can. Maybe, who knows? Then you're going to have to let them go from inside too, or you're just attached to them. It means every time you experience a trigger, until you let them go, until you sever that attachment from yourself, until you fully heal and process whatever it is that happened. Till you let it go, you will forever be wounded. You will be triggered. You will experience that emotion, or you will have some barrier. You will turn yourself into a hard-hearted person, not a strong-hearted person. Strength can tolerate some nonsense without even flinching. But hard-heartedness don't let nothing trespass. It don't give nothing the chance, because it's hard-hearted. And it looks like this. It looks like that on somebody's face. You see these people who get out of a bad relationship and all of a sudden they're fierce and stuff. You're like, I remember when that guy was friendly. I remember when that woman was friendly. And all of a sudden they're like an Amazonian or something. That's hard-heartedness, professing and expressing outwardly. Strong-heartedness, it rolls off your back. Spirituality is a lot like this. And oh boy, people get so far. They get so far. I want to talk like I've been to the finish line. I don't even think there's a finish line, guys. My stance is once you climb one mountain and you think you're going to be at the top of the summit of all mountains, you at the top of that mountain. And then all of a sudden, there's another mountain even bigger than that one that's before you. Thus is the journey. Never ending, forever and ever. Spirituality is like this. One of the basic things is learning. And in this process of learning, things transform internally to enable you to be able to do it with the hardware you've got. Upgrades and downloads, as we're calling it these days. With our spiritual Wi-Fi, straight from the source of all creation. As we're going through, one of the basic things here that drive this process is not letting external factors, circumstances, situations, events, or people affect your internal state, no matter what they do. Now, this is the part where I see people stumbling. Oh, they get really far. Their ego is there with them too, and it's building up. It said, I handled that before, I handled this and that, and they get to a point the ego can't keep going with them. And that ego, and they become a little blind. They think that means that you safeguard yourself. Well, the joke's on you, isn't it? That's egoic thinking, because your ego is still there running your show. You see, what it means to not let people outside of you or those situations and those circumstances affect you that are external to you as you perceive them, and not let that external stuff change your mood, affect your internal state. That means sometimes you're going to have to stand there when someone's barking at you. And you're going to practice this, because practice makes perfect. You have to practice when people hurt you, and when they're rude to you, and when they're out of control with you, where it don't affect you at all. And you're going to mess up. You're going to fail. That's me telling you from experience. But you're going to get better at the same time. Those external people, those external circumstances that affect you, the answer is not to build a wall or a barrier, or to isolate yourself, or to run from them. The answer is to learn how to absorb it and transmute it, and let it turn in to what all is, spirit. Spirit feels joyful. It flows right through you. And everything's spirit, ain't it? That means all that negative energy at some point, we just start drinking it like fine wine. It no longer disturbs our moods. Oh, the first time we encounter something of that nature, it's going to bug us. It's going to make us ruminate. It's going to anger us and irritate us and frustrate us. Oh, I know. But something's going to happen if we stick with it and we learn to breathe better and we accept and surrender to what is happening. And we release all tension through the body, around the head as it's happening. It flows in and it flows on out. And then in the times you fail, you're going to look back. You're going to dust yourself off. You're going to gather your strength and you're going to get back up. And when you encounter that again, if you've been observing and been aware and practicing presence, you're going to realize something simple but powerful. Well, that time was, it seems like it should have been worse than that first time. But boy, all I want to do is smile because it wasn't nothing. It'll go right in you and it'll go right out of you. And some of it'll just make you drunk. It's all about the practice, though. And until we get to those further points where we have mastered our nervous systems, where we have mastered our emotions, where we have worked with our flesh and our mind and all of those things, and we have learned to balance better than we did the day before, something we're going to realize, something we're going to know is that those emotions that we said that we coped with and we crutched through and we made excuses for the time that we failed and we snapped back, we're going to come to a point and we're going to say, we're no longer going to be saying, coping through it, making an excuse, saying, well, everybody's got emotions. I've got emotions. That's right. But do you got emotions or do they got you? Because if you got them, it's like I'm holding a hammer in my hand. It don't swing unless I swing it. It don't do much of nothing unless I do something with it. But if the hammer's got me, I become like a nail. It just starts swinging. I just start swinging and swinging because the hammer's got me. It controls me. Those are our emotions. In spirituality, there are some practices that believe you have subtle bodies. You got a physical body, and you go out there, and the emotional body is one of them. We believe you have 5 sheaths, subtle bodies. Some people believe you have 7, whatever. The emotional body is not meant to rule you. It is not meant to be a conqueror to you. You are supposed to grow and understand, and through the process of self-mastery, you are supposed to master these things. And so, if you come across somebody and you have a falling out with them, the best thing to do is try and patch it up. Best thing to do, if you're gonna depart from each other, do it with love and have a happy ending with each other. Don't do none of this stuff. I love them, but I'll never tell them that again. because they'll never have the chance to be in my presence again. They'll never be able to interact with me again. Some love that's just functional as hell. That's an attachment. That's as far away from love as you can be. Because love doesn't put cages around things. Attachments are the cage that you put over something or put something in. So when you're walking through life and that happens, a lot of people do use that statement. They'll just say, I love, but I have to, for my well-being and whatever, I have to keep them away from me. Well, they shouldn't affect your well-being, even if they were in close proximity to you, for one, because it's your well-being, isn't it? No one has the right to make you feel any kind of way. And if you work at it, you do that good work, you do that transforming inside, they'll never be able to. You won't even have to be so conscious about it. It'll just be, okay. So with people walking around, I love so-and-so, but I will never have them in close proximity to me again because my well-being and this and that and thatness, that is a wound. That is an unhealed wound. Somewhere in this energetic, unseen world, there are parts of us that have been fragmented and fractured. They are held in stasis until we address them, until we pay attention to them, not argue with them, not ruminate with them, not try and talk to them and interact with them in any way, but pay attention to them. The only kind of talking you do is something that helps you process it through. You say, welcome to my table. I've been waiting for you. Honored guest. How can they not be your honored guest? They're you. If you ain't your own honored guest, you ain't gonna be nobody's honored guest, are you? And you sit down, and the person, the memory or whatever, the thought sits down, and you just let it show you and share with you what it has. And sometimes you might ask a question. You got to feel that curiosity, though. It's got to be genuine. You want to know. Not from hostility or argument's sake or whatever. None of that passive-aggressive shit. Just say, what else can you show me? And it's like more parts start to appear. And more parts. Because you're curious about it. And it wants to tell you everything. It wants to show you everything as much as you want to show people something new. As much as you want to show somebody something interesting. It's just like that. People say, I love, but I'll never have that person near me again for my own well-being and this and that. That is a defense. It don't matter if you call it protection. It don't matter what you say. That's defensive. Where there is defensiveness, there is fear. Where there is fear, there cannot be true love, because true love is perfect. And where there is perfect love, there is God. What the hell do you have to fear if there is God present? The same one that split the sea and lifted it straight up to the sky. Same one that brought the dead back to life. Same one that endowed a man with such strength that he brought a whole temple down on people. Not this weak modern day architecture. Giant stone pillars 10 feet wide. The strength of God in a man brings the roof down in a structure like that. The one that said, I want you to be severely outnumbered because I'm going to kick ass on your behalf. And when I do, I want you to say, we were outnumbered 1,000,000 to 300, whatever. And we won. Because it wasn't us fighting, it was God fighting. Same one that stands in the courts of rulers. Same one that empowered a piece of wood to become a magic staff. That as Moses stood in the court of Pharaoh. And he threw it down and it became a fierce serpent. And all the greatest magicians of the known world, oh, they could make snakes. They could have made a dragon. Not like this, because it ate theirs without even breathing. You ain't got nothing to be scared of. But what your mind and your emotions have mistakenly tangled around, and you feel them. As you grow and you look back, you're going to say to these things that happened a long time ago, you're going to say, I can't believe I was scared of that. There's your measure of growth. I can't believe that made me angry. Get out of here. Oh, thanks for coming by. Can't believe that made me cry. I can't believe I was sad about that. And sometimes you're going to say, I can't believe I was happy about that. It's important to pay attention to what words we say, because a lot of times, a lot of people haven't caught on to this, but I have. When we talk, it's not always us talking. I know it sounds batshit insane, don't it? But look who said it. Sometimes it's our mind expressing. Sometimes it's from our heart expressing. Sometimes it's genuinely us. At the end of the day, the only thing we can really prove is we're watching, observing, and experiencing. Pay attention to the things that you're saying, because a lot of the time they're not meant for people around you. They're meant for you to hear. Same nature of existence. So when people walking around, I love you, I forgive you, but I can't have you around me. We can't interact no more. It's defensiveness. Where there's defensiveness, there's fear. And that's all we really have to know. But I'll go a step forward and say, where there is fear, there is definitely ego. And the more ego there is, the less divinity, the less God, the less spirit there will be. And that is a fact. Get rid of all of that ego. You don't need that ego to tend to the body. Let me tell you something. I tell you this in all honesty. Everything I have, everything that I have ever been, I didn't do that by my own hand. I promise I didn't. I might have consented. I might have encouraged. But I didn't do any of it. And I didn't bring it to myself. It wasn't by my hand, but it was by His. It's just like a lot of the things that I write a lot. They flow out of me. Flowing as presence of the Spirit in motion is one way to look at it. I didn't sit there and think of those things to say or write. They just came. Whether they're good or bad, I don't know. That's in the beholder of who receives it and who reads it and who gets it. But that's really all I have to say, or I'll go in circles. I think I said it all, though, and I think it's a good place to end it. There's defensiveness, there's fear, because you are trying to protect, you're trying to defend against something, you're scared of something. You wouldn't be defending against ice cream unless you were like severely allergic to it, right? Unless it gave you diarrhea. Then you would probably scream bloody murder. Don't you give me that. All right, guys, I hope everything goes your way out there. See ya.